Good morning, all. Suburban Sentinel here, coming to you once again from deep inside the Arabian Peninsula. And today I want to share a few things I've learned from a prepping related incident that has occurred and is still occurring here in the hinterlands. To make a very long, complicated story short, the tensions in the Middle East boiled over into this particular area and the conflict went hot. First off, I don't want to portray this incident as anything more exciting or interesting or dangerous than it really was. The absolute reality is that nothing really happened here, although we did suffer some consequences. For all intents and purposes, all intercity and international transportation was shut down. The roads between and among the various cities were closed, and air transport, at least civilian air transport, was shut down as well. There were no deliveries of food, water, fuel, etc. for a limited period of time, somewhere between 7 and 10 days. I'm not exactly sure how many days total. Although the supply of basic necessities had been cut off, one good thing is that there was no interruption in electrical service, so everybody had power. Quite frankly, the most difficult aspect of dealing with this incident was, and to a certain extent is, the uncertainty. There is a dearth of information, and the information we do get tends to be stale or comes in very late. And no one really knows what's going on until long after it happens, and that can be a real problem. But again, nothing tragic has occurred. It's just the uncertainty that people seem to have the biggest problem dealing with under these conditions. So let's take a brief look at how we did fare and are faring through this emergency type situation. First, let's take a look at the good things. There was absolutely no panic. Everybody was calm, everybody was civilized, there were no fights or major arguments requiring police intervention. Almost everybody that I saw was behaving pretty close to normally, although you could tell there was a certain amount of fear or apprehension kind of overriding the civil discourse. And I'm certainly not criticizing anyone. It was a pretty scary time. But everybody was extremely well behaved and cooperative. Resources were starting to run low, and neighbors were helping neighbors, supplying them with food and water or whatever else they needed. So everything was great. Now, again, this was only for a limited time period. Our supplies were only cut off for about a week, maybe 10 days. Again, I'm not really sure. But everybody was really good to each other, and that was really satisfying to see. Moving on to the bad, in my opinion, the vast majority of people here were and are woefully unprepared for any sort of significant emergency. I would be absolutely shocked if most people had more than a few days worth of food stocked in their cupboards and or refrigerator. Also, it very quickly became apparent that there was no organized emergency response for this type of situation or event. Communications were very haphazard, but that seemed to work out just fine, at least given the scope of this incident. If this were a much bigger or more complex disaster, that would be cause for concern. Truth be told, there was no real ugliness during the event. What I see as being most harmful is that the relatively mild consequences of this conflict going hot, at least in this area, is that it has lulled people into a false sense of security. Nothing happened here, and that's a great thing. However, the scope of the emergency was extremely limited. Everything was essentially back to normal somewhere within a week to 10 days. And I'm afraid that people are not going to heed the warnings and again prepare, stock up on food and water, and do all the other things that prudent preppers do. At least for me, this event has helped bring into sharp focus the many advantages of being well prepared for some type of an emergency. Obviously, having resources is good. We had plenty of food and water and medical supplies and all of the other stuff that we tend to spend our time and money stockpiling. But there were also several benefits to prepping that, although might be less tangible, are, in my opinion, just as valuable, if not more valuable, than the resources themselves. Because my wife and I had all the food, water, and supplies we needed stockpiled, we didn't have to worry. We weren't concerned where we were going to get our next bottle of water or next meal from. We could focus on collecting information, planning for the long term, adjusting our plans as we received more and better information, and helping others. We were able to take good care of ourselves because we were well supplied, we ate well, we got plenty of rest. Our stress levels were manageable because we were well fed and well rested and not under a great time pressure to find resources. We had the ability to engage in clear decision making. We did not have to incur any additional risk of traveling out in public under those circumstances, and we could focus on not only taking care of ourselves, but helping our friends and neighbors who were not as well prepared. So that is my impromptu after action report. As far as prepping goes, this incident makes it very clear that every dime of money I have put and will put into prepping, and every minute of sweat and toil of putting these preps together is absolutely worth it. I'd be very happy to never have to deal with another significant emergency or crisis. However, I will always continue to prep, and I will never feel like the time or resources devoted to prepping are wasted. That's all I have to say for now. Thanks for watching. This is the Suburban Sentinel, Middle East edition that is. Please thumbs up and subscribe if you like what you see. Questions, enlightening comments, and differing opinions are always welcome. Prep and be safe, everybody.